closer.
Did you?
How's it going?
Excellent, thank you.
I just want to make sure it's just as close to you because sometimes it sounds like,
Seems to be closer to me.
yeah, because you often sound far away. Maybe not.
That's just my emotional disconnection.
Why are you emotionally disconnected? Huh.
Safety first. Protect myself from emotional damage. I don't know. I'm just talking out of my rear end.
So I think I've found the man of my dreams aside from you. Second to you. Second to you. Second to you.
This might be the worst opener ever. Hey, so I brought you into this room real quick so I could tell you about the guy I really like. Oh, cool. This sounds amazing. Would the guy that you really like tell you that you got something stuck in your teeth right now? Because I would.
Hmm.
Yeah, you're right. Continue on with your dream, man.
Can you guess? Let's
No,
see. Okay, let's see if you can guess based on
it's the
the
worst game
hints.
ever.
Up for adventure
Okay.
because he likes to go fast.
Talking about Charles.
I am talking about Charles. See? That's all I needed to say. And now I found out he's a composer and plays music. And he's cute. And he has a cute little puppy. And,
He just got married, but continue,
well,
please.
I'm married too.
Yeah, that doesn't seem to be slowing you down any.
I'm just saying, I had no idea
Yep.
that he is a composer and
He's
plays
a man of many
classic
talents.
music. That was amazing.
Yeah.
And it was awesome.
Well, I wish you both the best. I hope it works out for you.
I think he's short though, right?
Yeah, they're all short. And he's probably like 90 pounds.
Yeah, so
F1 drivers are not what I would call stout individuals.
that's a big strike against him.
Okay, fantastic. So I'm still just.
That's why you're my number one.
Thanks, babe.
The only thing
Appreciate
that
that.
would make you more perfect is if you were musical. Although you used to serenade the girls' gallows pole when they were babies.
Yeah, I'd Sam Zeppelin all the time. I'm quite musical.
You love music. You just don't serenade me and compose me music.
Okay. Well, duly noted. I will jot that down real quick. Okay. Did dishes. Everybody, let's relax. I'm going to just slip downstairs and bang out a sonnet real quick.
Thank you for doing the dishes, by the way. I was totally going to clean them up.
Oh, yeah.
I just was,
So,
I had already been in the kitchen for 3 hours and just needed a break.
yeah, no, I could see it on your face. That's all good.
Sourdough takes so much work.
Can I give you a bit of honest feedback?
Yeah.
You pick the hardest hobbies no matter what. If you were standing in front of two doors and door number one was like super easy, enjoyable, relaxing hobby, and number two was anything other than that, you would pick number two every time.
What would be an easy, relaxing?
Knitting. But no, you took the one that you're constantly doing math. You're upset that it's never perfect. You've got to fold it every 20 minutes and like it takes 3 days to make one loaf. It's crazy.
Yeah, I do start the process Wednesday or Thursday.
Yep. Yeah, and by Sunday you're upset because it's all gone.
Well, if it's even made by Sunday.
If it's even made by
Last
Sunday.
week, I made some Monday. I started the process Thursday. But yeah, then it's gone in a day.
Yeah, it's truly remarkable. You're a walking over hot coals type of girl and everything.
I was listening to one of our episodes, and on it, I was going to make or had made a peanut butter and cheese sandwich. I'm like, grilled cheese. I haven't done that in a while, so I made one yesterday. It's delicious.
That's fantastic.
So now I'm reminding myself for the next time I listen to a podcast episode.
See, I'm a honey ham and cheese grilled cheese kind of guy. Love those.
That's good.
It's very
Bob's Lake special
Bob's Lake is good. Rest in peace, Bob's Lake.
with onions and tomatoes. You don't like the tomato, but I like. It's good.
A little bit of onion on there is something else. Yeah, Bob's Lake. That's an old throwback.
Mm-hmm. That's what we get when we were first dating.
Yeah, the Hamptons.
The 90s.
Yeah, man, it was a fantastic place, and it's gone.
It is gone.
No, I was going to say something back to the original topic, but that would come across as too mean.
No, what?
No.
Say it.
No, if it's not worth saying, I'm not going to say it. I'm just going to move on.
Okay.
What are we talking about today other than your love of Charles?
Well, a topic that's been coming up a lot lately. I was actually on CBC Radio.
Nice. Good humble brag. Okay,
Yeah.
continue.
And I'll put the link to that interview. But I was on, is it The Current?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was on The Current a little while ago on this topic, and I'm presenting on this topic in a month. So figured we should maybe talk about it. So the topic is NSSI.
Uh-huh.
It's non-suicidal self-injury. So when our kids hurt themselves. Yeah. And I think it's really important because we're seeing it younger and younger. Before, 10, 20 years ago, it was usually our really complex kids with really high needs, usually pretty significant psychiatric disorders. But we're seeing it now more and more. And actually, just this week, I've worked with a couple of teenagers who nonchalantly, like I didn't even know that mental health stuff was on the radar. I was just doing assessments, right? Nonchalantly, we were talking about the things that they're doing. And so I think it's important for us to talk about, but not freak out about.
Hmm.
So I guess, what do you know, if anything? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, this is absolutely, I mean, yes, I've heard of it, but
Well, let's start maybe with like some biases or assumptions. If you heard, a kiddo was self-harming, what would immediately pop to mind?
I mean, the old cliche of they're just looking for attention, right?
Right, right,
That's typically where you would go to. And to a certain degree, I think that is sometimes wrapped up with suicide itself as well, right? So that extension of.
right. Well, and this is the biggest difference between suicidal intention and NSSI, self-harming, is there's an intent to die with suicide attempt, right? And afterwards, if they're not successful, they feel frustrated, disappointed, hopeless, helpless. They feel worse. Whereas with self-harm, there is no intent to die and they feel better. And that's where it becomes really problematic is they actually feel better. And so
It's almost like a release.
it's a release. Yeah.
Oh,
So the
interesting.
the major most common function when we look at the purpose of it, because that's how we address it is based on what it gives kids. Why is it that kids are doing it? What is it giving them? They might not necessarily know, but their brain is being rewarded by this behavior. So the most common reward is release
Mhm.
of overwhelming emotions, right? Like they're just so overwhelmed. And a lot of times, especially as they go into teenage years, there's so much going on in the brain just in terms of puberty and hormones and things like that, that the brain is having a hard time even understanding what's going on, but pain it understands. And so when the brain knows, okay, this is predictable, this makes sense, that calms the nervous system,
Mhm.
right? Because it's not this new unknown entity. And so it can be very relieving. And so kids feel better. Sometimes kids will dissociate. I don't know if you know
Mhm.
that. Yeah. So just not feeling like they're like floating above their body. They don't feel grounded. Things feel surreal. I mean, there's different types of experiences. So it actually helps them bring them back to earth
Yeah.
to actually feel real because they're just so numb, for example. So those are kind of the two most common
So
ones.
is pain like a grounding thing for those that are disassociated? Like the pain sharpens their focus back on their body?
Yeah, essentially.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very grounding. There are, I mean, attention, I find in my experience, I will say that one of the functions can be if they don't have the words to talk about how they're feeling
Hmm.
and they want people to understand how bad they're hurting and they don't know how to share that, then self-injury can be a way to do that.
Yeah.
But the true attention seeking, I find that a lot of my kids will threaten it or maybe do it for attention, but they're not true self-harming behaviors
Okay.
to the same extent. And it's not really giving. Like most of the kids who are actually engaging in this behavior are hiding it. They're not showing it. They don't want people to know. It's their own sort of secret.
Yeah.
I will say that's changed a little bit, especially now with social media. I mean, it's just social media has made this so much worse
So
in so many ways.
that's a question that I had. So is there a component of this that we're seeing more of it because it is more talked about or more referenced, maybe is a better way to put it? Like, obviously, the conversation we're having here is for education purposes to parents, but do conversations like this sometimes put the idea in people's heads as that's something that they might not have thought of before? Where does that fit?
Not really. Like,
Okay.
it's better to be able to bring up the conversation. But what does happen with social media is social comparison, social contagion, emotion contagion. And we know, and there's so much research showing, the more severe, we'll use cutting, for example, the more severe the cut, the closer to almost death are the most popular posts on social media, right? So when we look at Reddit, for example,
Mhm.
or Instagram, I mean, the things that are liked the most. So there is a component there, right?
Yeah.
Where, oh, wow, like these people are getting that attention. So there is, I would say, a huge social influence that we wouldn't have seen 10 years ago or more,
Right.
right? Like we are seeing a lot more of that. And the belongingness, the sense of community, right? Other people who are validating and understanding. So there's a huge sense of belonging here in this community. But yeah, they are being exposed to it and how to do it and different
Yeah.
ways to do it. There's far more exposure like that. And I am seeing a lot of kids who are like, oh, I saw a celebrity did it and it helped them. So I thought I would try, right? Or so we are definitely seeing that
The
exposure.
celebrity talking about how self-harm helped them.
Or some idol. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God, why would you put that out there?
I know. I know.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's so many pieces wrapped up in it. But the biggest thing is, and I always come back to our kids don't know how to regulate their emotions. They don't know how to manage their emotions. They might not have the words. Like, it's not new to me. I started working with autistic kiddos in the 90s. There's a lot of self-injurious behavior there. They're frustrated. They don't have words. They're nonverbal, right? They'd be hitting their head.
Yeah.
I had a relative, I'm not going to say names just in case they listen to this, but I had a relative who smash their head on anything they could for years and years whenever they were frustrated, right? Like smashing in the middle of a grocery store on that tile or on the cement outside. Like I'm sure they caused brain damage, right? So it could be from that. And
So
and that's the thing. So, when we look at the types of, I mean, cutting is the most common. Is there any others that you think of, or is that the one that kind of
that's the
comes?
one that always jumps to my
Yeah.
mind, right? Because I think my limited exposure, that's what you hear about. But like, what else is there other than cutting? Like, is there?
Well, so I can go into like acid, pouring acid on the skin, or, oh yeah, like,
Oh,
or throwing yourself down the stairs. Like there are those types of things. The most common that I see in my work, cutting certainly with younger kids, it's usually scratching. So like maybe taking a stapler. So there are yeah, staplers or paper clips or anything sort of sharp.
oh my God,
Yeah, yeah, little guys doing that. Biting, I mean, little guys will also bite
themselves.
themselves, hair pulling, there's all of
Yeah.
those things. I would say, yeah, as they get older, having razors, cutting is a big one. Burning, actually, I've got a lot of girls right now who are burning because they're vaping and then they're using their lighter to burn themselves.
Oh man.
Yeah, yeah.
So I guess this leads to the question of, okay, how as a parent do you monitor this? Or what do you look for in an attempt to try and help your kiddo?
Yeah. So, looking at behavioral signs, are they always wearing long sleeves and long pants when it's hot, hot, hot out, right?
I wear
So,
long pants a lot more now when it's hot.
but just trying, like all of a sudden, if
Yeah,
there's sensory sensitivities or whatever. So, I mean, the thing is, I don't want parents to freak out and start pathologizing and
totally.
make it into a big
Yeah.
deal, right? But just know, like, sometimes there's those sort of behavioral signs. It can be helpful just to say, what's helpful for you
Yeah.
when you're so overwhelmed with emotion. Just see, kind of what they come up with because it's usually those not like it's just the easygoing sort of conversations when we're on a walk. You can just kind of, bring those conversations up. The biggest thing I would say to start is just make sure your kids feel heard,
Yeah.
right? And just about everything. It could be their video games, it could be their friends, it could be about their homework. Because if they don't feel safe to talk about, homework with you, that it's just going to cause a fight, or chores with you, they're not going to bring this stuff up.
Right.
So that's why I always go back to that relationship and listening and validating, that's going to be really important. Social media, I mean, get your kids off of screens, off of social media, because that's a problem. And even like they might just, I was watching, well, I think I was telling you about this, maybe not, I can't remember, but I was watching this news article where they had just watched a sad video. Like that's where it started. But with the algorithms, it just feeds you more and more and more
Yeah.
and more. And so within minutes, it went just from a sad, cute musical video to self-harming within minutes. And then the content from there, and I wasn't even seeing the content. I was just hearing the music. So I wasn't even hearing the words. I was just hearing the music and seeing the reaction of the specialists who were just allowing the social media to scroll.
Mhm.
And I was so distraught. So I couldn't even imagine like what it was that they were actually watching. And yeah, like it got dark fast and they were becoming so overwhelmed and sad. And so we need to co-watch with our kids and like really monitor the social media piece. The other one is if you do find out that they're hurting themselves, don't freak out. That's the worst thing that we can do because they're just going to go underground
Yeah.
and
Right.
and yeah, they're going to hide it more. It could get more severe. We could make it worse inadvertently because a lot of times, they get that immediate relief, but there's a lot of shame and guilt afterwards and like I must be so messed up. And we
Yeah.
don't want to pathologize, right? So I must be so messed up to always have to
Yeah, and as
do
a
that.
parent, if you freak out, that would make sense that it would just feed into there's something wrong with me if that's how they're reacting.
And I'm a burden. And like that's where then we start thinking suicidally, right? I'm just a burden. Nobody wants me. It'll be easier so we just got to make sure that we're not, feeding into that. So it's neutral. It's being curious and completely objectively neutral, like a scientist who's removed, like you got to take the emotion out of it. And it's like, wow, thanks for telling me. And the validation, you're not agreeing that that behavior is okay, but
Yeah.
but you have to know it is adaptive for them right now.
Right.
It's their only way to cope. And for a lot of them, they'll say it's helping me avoid suicide
Yeah.
because I'm getting that relief. So the validation is, wow, like there's a lot on your plate and you found a way to cope, right? That's kind of what we need to do is validate. And then it's being curious, like what does it do for you? Right? How do you feel afterwards? Just kind of getting an understanding because when we look at intervention, I mean, there's so much. I can't go into all the
Right.
intervention now, and certainly, definitely go see someone to talk to help you guide this if you do have a kiddo who is self-harming. But it's just being able to open that door for conversation and understand what it's doing for them, because that's where they're going to be targeting the intervention. Because if it's a release, for example, well, we got to work on distress tolerance and emotion regulation.
So if you do, so say you discover it, you do your best to be neutral, and they still don't really provide you much in terms of response. How how do you try and proceed from there without coming across as too forceful or pushing or whatever, but still trying to move them towards a healthier thing? Like, I guess to put a fine point on it, when would it be okay to say, hey, if you don't want to talk to me, maybe you'd feel better to talk to someone else. Like, how do you bridge that gap if they don't want to open up about it?
Yeah. Like if you know for sure that they are.
Yeah, if you know for sure and you
Yeah.
try and address it kind of in that neutral space and they just don't reciprocate, like they don't provide any information, how do you try and move that forward without alienating them or potentially driving them more into it?
Yeah, it's definitely leaving that invitation open, right? Like I'm here anytime you want to listen. And I can get you someone else if you want somebody else to talk to.
Right.
A lot of times, though, they think therapy is irrelevant, that there's nobody that can help them. And so we don't want to make them against it by pushing it on them more and more. So we got to be really careful because there's a huge gap in like
Yeah.
we know that the kids need, but there's a few other things that so leave that open. I would say you go consult with somebody who
Right.
can help guide you with your responses. You could say something about, let me like, I trust you in knowing your body, but, think about where that line is where you might need medical attention
Right.
because sometimes they don't realize they accidentally, maybe cut deeper than they meant to. And so it's just creating those sort of boundaries. But there is a huge gap. The bigger thing, though, is it's the system, right? We can work on the kids and focus on the kids, but usually it's a bigger system. When we look at what triggered it in the first place, it's not because they're depressed. Depression
Sure.
could
Maybe
be a
motivate.
risk
Yeah.
factor, but it's because they probably have, well, think of high school, how much high school demands, right? And I've got my SATs and my PRTs and MCATs, all of these pressures in university. So there's the school stress, there's the social stress, right? So it could be I'm bored and now my friend's not responding to my text and now I'm overwhelmed because, so it's usually a bunch of different things. Parent stress, right?
Hmm.
If we find, who are the kids at greater risk, they're usually our marginalized kids. So if there's minority stress, ethnically diverse, divergent, neurodivergent, ADHD,
Hmm.
anyone part of the LGBTQ community, right? So a lot of these kiddos as well. The biggest piece is an invalidating environment, right? So for example, if kiddo wants to use they, them for
Right.
pronouns instead of she, her, and parents are arguing about that, for example, that's invalidating. So that's usually what we start seeing, that they just feel like, I'm never heard, I'm never listened to. So I never go right for the kids. I'm always looking at the bigger system around them
Right. Yeah.
first.
Where are the influences driving this? Yeah.
Yeah. If there's huge parental conflicts, right? Parents are going through big divorce, there's a lot of instability, there's fighting and chaos all the time. I mean, it's not going to help us giving kids skills to throw them back into that environment. It's just not because they're going to be like, see, nothing works. I
Right.
tried that thing, but nothing gives that immediate release, a major release right away.
Right.
So we really need to think about those pieces.
Crazy. I mean, it's heartbreaking to think about, but yeah, it's definitely something that you got to treat a little bit
Yeah.
thoughtfully, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So it always comes back to the same things, right?
Yeah.
Working on emotion regulation, regularly getting our kids to, get granular, really identifying how they're feeling, not just that I feel bad or that I'm sad. It's like I'm feeling really excluded
Right.
right now, or I'm feeling really disheartened right now. So being able to really clearly articulate, because that does change the brain and it does calm the nervous system when we can label how we're feeling and being able to drop into the body. Because a lot of times that's the discomfort, right? I'm feeling all of these big things in my body and pain sort of overrides all of that.
Right.
So being able to get comfortable with that chest pain or with the, gut punch that it feels like, all of those things are going to be important. And then just validating, create like build, strengthening the relationship, validating their experiences, making sure they feel heard. And I know it's hard. I'm an expert and I am not validating all the time, right? And I know I nag the girls every day about something, right? But it is being able to pick and choose balance,
Yeah.
or pick and choose and create balance so you're not nagging every single thing.
Start early enough to keep them off social media.
Yes. That would be my number one
Yeah.
recommendation. And no, too, like just think of, well, halt. If they're hungry, if they're angry, if they're lonely, if they're tired, right? So sometimes we just need to look at those physiological pieces. Sleep, I would say, is the very first thing. Another thing is when we see big behaviors, when was the last time they ate? A lot of my teenage girls, like every single one that I talked to this week, I said, when was the last time you ate? How regularly do you eat? Every single one of them's like, oh, I don't know. I'm not that great. I'm like, that makes you vulnerable
Yeah, it's
to
robbing your brain of the ability to think.
exactly. So even just having a spoon of almond butter, I'm telling schools, like I know that there's a stupid peanut ban, but seriously, like just give the kids a spoonful of almond butter a couple of days, so a couple of times throughout the day, and that can make all the difference in the world.
Yeah, and not in try not to get into this. 'Cause I find this with our own is when they're overtired, there's just no path to a good resolution in the conversation, right? So
Yeah.
there's been a few times that I've had to shelve conversations being like, this isn't the time for us to talk. Let's do it later. And they don't like to hear it, but it is about making sure that you're getting enough rest so you can actually process it and explain yourself on both sides. And I don't mean that just directed to the kids. If I'm too tired, I'm not in the right space to help them out properly. So it's keeping an eye on that as well,
Yeah.
right?
Just love them, hold them. If
Our
you're
kids
angry,
love it. That's what we do, right? Right in their face, get up in their grill. They're huge fans.
look at pictures. I was doing that yesterday, just looking at them when they're so little, right? Just do whatever you can to bring that love back in as much as you can.
Yeah, create a safer space for
But I
them.
think this is important, even if you don't have kids,
Yeah,
you know, that are self-injuring because they might be coping in other ways that are
something else,
not
man.
great.
Vaping or
Vaping.
drinking or whatever. Yeah, totally.
Exactly. Right.
Jaywalking. You never know. Dangerous lifestyle. No,
I suppose.
no, it's the vaping and drinking. I'm kidding.
Okay.
Good day.
Good day.